right.
Speaking towards you.
Yeah, you can speak to me, but you can also like gesture to the camera as well. How did this character come about? You know, like what sort of inspired the character of the progressive liberal?
It's just, I mean, my real life frustration with the hypocrisies of right-wingers, and then knowing that my views that lean left would offend them. And, you know, in the case of like, you know, where a lot of my matches are in East Kentucky, it's, they consider it an assault on their way of life, because coal is a way of life out there.
How long have you been doing this character?
Well, I don't like to use the word character. I mean, but I know we do use it for lack of a better term. But I mean, I debuted it, I would say summer of 2015.
Let's kind of get your wrestling background. How long have you been wrestling, and what inspired you to become a wrestler?
It's kind of, well, I guess the first part, how long, is kind of a weird question for me. I started in 2003, but I didn't, you know, I went hot and heavy through the end of, like, for about 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And then that was just taking independent bookings here and there, but definitely on a part-time, and that's being generous, schedule. And then from 2009 to like 2014, I didn't wrestle any dates until like July of 2014, and I started taking some bookings and taking more bookings, and like, I mean, it just has steamrolled and gained momentum from there. And, you know, then I came up with something that, you know, resonated. And again, I hate using like came up with something, like I created something fictitious, but I mean, this is me. It's just a extension of me.
Right. And look, were you doing any other gimmicks before then, or were you just
No, it's always Daniel Richards, but with some moniker in front of it, like Big Dan Richards, which, you know, no creativity whatsoever. And then you know, Dynamite Dan Richards, but just nothing that really, like, you know, I could get reactions off fans, but there was nothing that had legs and could define me.
What's been sort of the wild, like, since you've been doing this gimmick for, you know, well over a year, what's been like the wildest reaction? Because, yeah, we've seen the promos that you've done, like, to the crowd and everything, and they really do you could really do get like a visceral reaction from them. And so what's been like the craziest reaction that you've gotten?
I thought, I hadn't talked about this one too much, but after the election, like the first event I did after the election, I was in Appomattox, Virginia. So that's 100 miles southwest of Richmond, where I live. And man, it was just, you know, it's probably 125, 150 people in the crowd. So not a huge crowd, not as small for an independent show, but man, that reaction was as strong as any of them. And it was at that time I realized, like, I was kind of worried that maybe because Hillary lost that I would lose steam. Mm-hmm. But I think Trump winning was great not for the country, of course, but for the longevity of the progressive liberal.
Yeah, how long do you plan? Like, how long do you plan on continuing to play this character?
Well, I mean, I'm just. I don't know. It's not like your life where you come up with a 5-year plan or something like that. I mean, wrestling, as the MSNBC piece touched on, like, wrestling, you know, goes as society goes and kind of adapts. So bad guys used to be, you know, during the Cold War times were, you know,
like
Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik in the 80s, you know, from Iran and everything. So but that is kind of passé now, because as our country's become more of a melting pot, you know, and although it almost seems like, you know, racism is, because of the media, it seems like racism's stronger in some sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it definitely hasn't gone away, but at the same time, I think, you know, there are people from around the world that now live in our small towns, where maybe before it was more restricted to bigger cities. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. So I think a bad guy being just bad because they're from a foreign country. It doesn't have relevance anymore, whereas someone, so I'm tapping into something very real. Look on Facebook. I mean, it's just a bunch of political discord in a lot of ways. If you want to start an argument, bring up politics and your views on that and or religion.
I actually read somewhere where like someone actually like either brought a gun to a house show or was gonna bring a gun. Like
two different, it's actually both are true. So one, we were at a fire department doing an event there. I said played upon their fears and said take away their guns. And one of the guys, I think he worked for the fire department, he had one right in his holster and he was pointing it, act like he was rubbing it, pointing at us, and we moved on. Needless to say, just like President Obama, I didn't take his gun. Okay, so then we had a threat of, someone said if that effing liberal comes to this town, like I'm gonna shoot him. And in today's day and age, that should be taken seriously. I did take it seriously, but I'm not gonna not make the town. I can't live my life based on fear.
Have any bigger organizations reached out to you, like any big wrestling promotions or anything like that, since this has come about?
I've gotten bookings from other places and talked to other promotions that I don't think I would have been talking to if it weren't for this thing going national. So I think any chance. I love wrestling in the Southeast, but at the same time, I'm a citizen of the planet, so I've traveled internationally, and I've been to 38 states in this country, but I haven't wrestled in all those states, and I'd love to travel the ones I haven't been to and wrestle in as many as I can. So I'm excited.
Let's talk about like the ring attire. Like, what made you come up with the shirt of Hillary Clinton faces?
Well, I didn't come up with it. I just did a Google image search and it was there. I mean,
but what made you like buy it though?
Because it was wrestling. Like, if you're gonna smartly book a wrestling event, you're gonna book it based on heat. What gets an emotional reaction of the crowd, good or bad, and I knew that would get a reaction. I mean, if I'm going to a town where no one knows who I am, they're gonna remember that. First of all, when I walk out there, and if I'm in the Southeast, where in all these red states, they're gonna see that, and it's gonna get a reaction, and dare I say, an unfavorable one. Whereas, and people are gonna remember it. And then it's up to me with my work in the ring to sustain the reaction. Do
you have any plans to like sort of elongate or like sort of expand on the wardrobe attire, like add anything or?
Well, you got to keep it fresh, no matter what form of entertainment you're in. So I just put in an order yesterday with a guy I work with named Coy Phillips, who got in wrestling, I should say. He makes gear for guys who work for Global Force Wrestling, formerly Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and then, guys in the area. I know him from my days in West Virginia, which is where I started my wrestling career. My first match was in Oak Hill, West Virginia. So anyways, I met him on that circuit, and he makes really great attire. So I just put in like a pretty good order with him for new trunks, knee pads, and then for a new ring jacket. So you got to keep your look fresh. So at this point now, literally like the world has seen my Hillary shirt, and that'll always be part of it, but I need to tie in other things.
But to go back, you never really did say like what got you into wrestling. Like, when did you start watching it?
I mean, I started watching when I was like 10 years old, but the difference between me and that made me no different than a lot of kids, that watched it when they were kids. I'm just the guy that never grew up or kept believing that I could do it later, and that was my plan. Like I went to college because I grew up in this upper middle class town where they, that was what you're, I guess, brought up to believe, or what I was brought up to believe. You go to school, you get a job, and blah, blah, blah. Well, I just wanted to go to college, so I had a backup plan, and then I was going to wrestle. because of the time I took off, in a way, I've killed my own dream. So on that, as far as any kind of potential run anywhere, any of the big companies, I think that hurt me. But I wanted to just come back and have fun, and I was having fun, and I just happened to, get to implement a gimmick that I believed in. And, now it's turned into this, and it's really cool, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
What has happened, like from the time, because you mentioned it to me a little bit, but in the week that this thing seriously just went from like 0 to 60, like, did you think that it would just catch fire like this?
No, I mean, I was lifting weights, as I'm sure you can tell. I'm kidding. But I was lifting weights and got a Facebook message from my fan page from a guy wanting me to be on his wrestling podcast, and he said, because of the Deadspin story. I'm like, I'll be on your podcast, but what's this Deadspin story? And then I Googled, Deadspin, progressive liberal, and I was just like, wow, that's
you had no
pretty
clue that they were.
No, they didn't call me. I mean, they saw the tweet and they did their own digging and all that stuff. Of course, they called me later that day and did a follow-up, I think that same night or the next day. Because the next interview request was Sports Illustrated. And I mean, that really registered with me. I mean, but I didn't think, and then I didn't think, well, then this will happen, then this will happen, then HBO, and then we'll have 5 media outlets at our next event and everything like that. And, I mean, just on the way over here, I had some band contact me and ask if they could write a theme song for me. It's just fan art.
Did you say yes to the theme?
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to hear it. I said, just make it heavy, because that's what I like. I mean, right now I come out to Hail to the Chief, mixed in, then the Soundgarden song comes in, because I was a big Chris Cornell fan, and when he died, I wanted one of their older songs as part of it.
Do you have any sort of hopes or anything for the character, like where it should go, or for you? Like, are you hoping it gets you to sort of a higher status, or like up to the next peg?
Man, I mean, look, I've got bills like everyone else, and I have this amazing opportunity and or opportunities ahead of me in the coming weeks, and I mean, I'd love to monetize this and make it as big as it can be. I invest in real estate at the same time, so like I always have that. It's not like I don't have a plan B, but I mean, I would feel like I would be lying if I didn't say it wouldn't feel like I failed if I didn't make something of this. But man, I'm just enjoying every step of the ride, and I think that's important, like to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's not going to go as well. And that's something before, like when I started wrestling, I wanted to be in the WWE so bad. And it's not that I don't want to do a match for them now. Like that was my goal. It's like, okay, I'm going to be 37 next month. Okay, they're not going to put the time into me. Like, I'm not going to have a run with them, right? And plus, I don't have like guys that do come to them at the age I'm at. They've been a lot more places than I have, and I realize that and I recognize that. I mean, I've just wanted to be on a mat, like have one TV match with them, which has happened for guys, and so it's a challenging dream, but it's achievable. And so I'm just, man, I mean, I want that, and if this got me there, hey, I'll take it, man.
Yeah, who would your dream opponent be in WWE?
Dream opponent, like anybody.
We could do current superstar, or we could do just anybody. Bring them back.
Man, I should be better prepared for that question. It's just like, I've wrestled guys that have been in the WWE. Like, I mean, for all the things about the progressive liberal, that like the wrestling part almost gets left to the wayside. But I mean, I've wrestled. First name I ever wrestled was Bill Eadie, who was Demolition Axe in WWE, and then I wrestled the Barbarian. I've wrestled Tracy Smothers, and then Al Snow, Shane Douglas, Gene Snitsky was the last major name from TV that I wrestled. I mean, so having wrestled, I'm not bringing that to name drop, but I'm bringing it up because it's like, I think I get conditioned to know, like, hey, these are my peers now, and not to get awestruck, but all the same, like, I mean, there's a lot of talented guys on the WWE rosters, along with Global Force Wrestling, now formerly Impact Wrestling, and Ring of Honor. I mean, anyone would be an honor. I'm a real big fan of Bray Wyatt, who's on the WWE TV now. Big fan of him. I mean, there's a lot of guys there I have a lot of respect for.
But mainly it's just Bray. If we could get to like a current superstar, it would be Bray Wyatt.
I mean, that'd be awesome, but I mean, I'd love to wrestle Triple H, or, put me in there with Roman Reigns, whatever. It's just like, throw me in with Lesnar.
I don't know if we could take that much heat, like with you and Roman Reigns being in the same ring as each other.
I might be the good.
You might be turned to the babyface.
Yeah. It depends where we're at. It depends where I'm at. I might get the crowd to turn in favor of him.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you think this gimmick could work in blue states? Like
the
tri-state area.
Yeah, no, I know so. I mean, I was in tune enough to know I would get a lot of heat in coal country, red states, Bible Belt, all that stuff. But I also know I'd be, especially now, fans were chanting my name in Nebraska last week there was a Republican character or whatever, and fans chanted my name because the word, story had gotten around that much, but that was towards the end of last week. So because there's some name recognition now, and, the BBC America piece aired yesterday. So, people, that's on in public television. I got a message from someone in California today who saw it, and I think, yeah, for sure. Like Canada, I'd be a baby face, An anti-Trump figure works in blue states for sure. I mean, I'm gonna be in a town called Annandale, Virginia, which is northern Virginia. It's just south of DC, and I mean, I anticipate a good pop there. Cheers. Wow. So that'll be fun. It's I don't care about getting booed all the time. It's bring it on. Those boos are my cheers, but to get actual cheers it'll be interesting.
What if people like close to you, like relatives or bosses or anyone, like what have they thought about all this?
Well, I mean, my family, right or left, is excited for me. I mean, my family is definitely a mix, maybe a microcosm of the country, where there's more left population-wise. And I almost got fired by my broker, my real estate broker, because obviously I intended all this and knew it would happen all along, and in her view, so whatever. But
what did she say? Was she's like,
well, it's a customer-driven business. And,
right.
First of all, I've been an investor for a few years, but then I got my license so I could run a property management business, and that's going pretty well so far. But you can only do it as a licensed agent, and to be a licensed agent in the state of Virginia, you have to have have your license hung at a brokerage. You can't just get your license and then work wherever or do whatever you want. You got to be under somebody. So, yeah, I mean, I told her Tuesday and during new agent training, hey, this happened, because she gave a speech about not making political posts and things like that. I was like, we got to talk. And so I told her about it, and then, then of course Thursday is like I never had that talk, and, obviously I anticipate all this.
But overall, the reaction from like family and friends has been pretty positive.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's been very positive. Yeah, I had a couple of people like kind of appeared out of the woodworks, like from college, who now a friend requests me. I mean, but I don't look at it cynically like that. It's like, it's all good, man. I mean, people are happy for me, and of course, once Fox News ran their story, that's when some, the negative comments and messages came. I mean, it wasn't what started them, but, I'm talking on the national scene, of course, because, the places I wrestle on a regular basis, I've been getting it for a while. So that stuff doesn't even faze me.
It may be President Trump, may be your answer, but what political figure would you actually want to wrestle? Would you actually want to fight if you could?
Yeah, Trump, because, I mean, the thing about him is from his early in his campaign, I mean, he said he'd be great as a commander-in-chief, referring to being the top military officer, because he's the toughest guy. I mean, first of all, that's maybe not the only qualification in the world. Second of all, that's very debatable. Third of all, it's just, who says that? So yeah, that insinuation that he's the toughest guy then is, I don't get too worked up about his tweet beating up CNN, because the only thing that surprises me now is when people are surprised about him doing anything that's not presidential. I mean, let's refuse to accept that as, a new normal, and realize this is an exception to what that office is supposed to be. At the same time, America did vote for this guy. I mean, not in the popular vote, but we have this wonderful electoral college that I couldn't make sense of when I was a kid, and don't think it's justified now, but whatever.
Oh, well, that's all the questions that I had, so thank you for the very good interview, and thank you for watching.